Good morning. We're learning as Chutzur for Shlema, for Ilana Chaya Basarach, and for Meir Ben Cyril Perel. We're on the top of Lamed Vav Amud Aleph. We're on the second line. Taner the Be'er Bishma, we had just said, we're just finishing up the last Gemara, the last Sugya. We had said that both Dam Chalalim, the dam of a behema that was killed, as well as the dam of a behema that underwent shchita, there's reasons we have psukim to tell you that those should be machshir to be makabel tum. So pasuk is dam chalalim yishte, the dam of the chalalim. What's the whole pasuk? Hein hein kalav yaakov chashi yisas lo yishkash v'adiyachal torah v'dam chalalim yishte. So we learned from that dam chalalim is also machshir kabel tumah. Prat l'dam kiluach, but that excludes the dam that spurts out when one starts to shechten, to kill an animal or to shecht an animal. She'ena machshir says royim. That's not going to be machshir food to be makabel tumah. That's still like dam of a makkah. It's not considered the dam that came out from the death of the animal. Okay, just an observation. Toner Rabban. Hashoichet v'hitis dam al hadlas. If someone shechts and the blood of the shchita goes, this is talking about the real dam, the dam that is machshir, that we've discussed about in the Mishnah. We said Rav Shimon says it's not machshir l'kabel tumah. That fell on a gourd, and it was that was already separated from the ground. And the question is, Rabbi Yoiba Hochsher. Rabbi says that dam of shchita is machshir l'kabel tumah. Reb Chia Omer Chullin. Reb Chia says no. When we leave it in abeyance, we leave it as a suffix. So, not to confuse things, right? We just had the last Amud. We said Rav Shimon, who says that shchita makes an animal hochshel l'kabel tumah. He says, but the dam of the shchita does not. It's not the dam shchita, it's the shchita itself, according to Rav Shimon. Right? That was the machlokes in the Mishnah. Rav Shimon said the dam shchita is not. Now we'll bring a brisa. Let's bring a separate machlokes between Rabbi and Reb Chia. I don't know why. It's going to become clear from this Gemara that Reb Chia is being treated as a Tana, the mandama of the brisa. Maybe Reb Chia said over b'shem some unknown Tana. I think Reb Chia is an Amoyer, not a Tana. I think so. So, in any case, this is a second machlokes on this topic of whether the dam that comes out of it from behemoth from shchita is considered a liquid that's machshir l'kabel tumah. Amar Abayishia me'achash Rabbi Omer Hochsher, Reb Chia Omer Chullin. Since Rabbi says that the dam is considered a liquid that's machshir l'kabel tumah, and Reb Chia says he's not sure, anu al mi nisvach. So how are we going to know what to do? Bo'oven nisvach ad Reb Shimon. We could use Reb Shimon to be the machriya, to be the decisor. Reb Shimon Omer shita machshat of loydam, like we said on the previous Amud. Rav Shimon says in the Mishnah, he argues and says that shchita is what's machshir of a hemet makabel tumah, but not the dam, not like the Tanakama of our Mishnah, who said that it depends on whether the dam came out or not, whether the animal becomes hochshel makabel tumah. Amar Rav Papa, hakol moedim. So Rav Papa now comes to explain what this machlokes between Reb Chia and Rabbi in the Mishnahs. So he says, "Hakol moedim heichad isel dam etchila v'ad soif." Everyone will agree that where the dam is staying on this gourd, on this vegetable, and it stays from the beginning of the shechita to the end of the shechita. Kuli amalei plig demachshir. In that case, even Reb Chia that said Chullin, he would be maskim that it's going to be hochshel l'kabel tumah. We're talking about where the dam did not remain on it on the gourd from all the way till the end of shechita. It was wiped off. He started shechting the animal. He cut through one siman, and as he's cutting through that siman, the blood got onto the gourd. And then before he finished the siman, the blood was taken off of the gourd. Rebbe Sava Yeshno Shchita Mitchila Vatzoif. Rebbe says that the shchita starts all the way at the beginning, B'hai dam shchita, and therefore this dam is dam of a shchita. Because even though it wasn't there for the whole shchita, but it was there for the beginning of the shchita, the beginning of the shchita is part of the shchita. Reb Chia Sava Eini l'shchita el b'seif. Reb Chia says, no, the shchita takes place at the end. V'hai dam makahu. And this dam that was on the gourd, since it wasn't there at the end of the shchita, it only has the status of dam of a wound of the animal, because that part is there's no shchita until the end, and it wasn't there anymore at the end of the shchita. Umay Thailand, and now we're going to a little bit recharacterize the words. What it was exactly that Reb Chia said. Reb Chia said that it's Thailand. We had said Thailand means that we leave it as a suffix. We don't know whether this thing is hukshel kabel tum or not. Thailand adavad gemar shchita. It just what he meant to say was not that we leave it for Elio to decide, but rather we leave it to see whether the blood is going to remain on the vegetable until the end of the shchita. If it remains till the end of the shchita, yisel adam b'soyev shchita machsher, v'iloi loi machsher. It's going to depend on that. Now, this is a very to me it's a chiddushtik way of looking at things, right? I would look at it that if yeshel utchil mitchilat seif, that means that while it's true that the beginning of the shechita doesn't yet have the status of a shechita, but at the end, when it ends up being a shechita, you would think all the dam that came out was in the end a dam shechita. For example, let me put it like this. Let's say someone collected the dam of the shechita. If you hold Eina l'shchita el b'seif, would you suggest if you took a drop of that blood and put it on something, would you say it's not going to be machshir l'kabel tumah because maybe it's from the dam of the beginning of the shechita? No, you'd say it's all dam shechita, because once there's a shechita at the end, all the dam becomes a dam shechita. So this is to me, it's a big chiddush to say that if Eina l'shchita el b'seif, that dam that came out, even when there's a shechita at the end, is not considered dam shechita. So that would mean the only thing that would be, to me, it should be that the only thing that's able to be machshir l'kabel tumah. And what does it help if you leave it on till the end? So what we're saying, breira, that at the end it was dam shechita, but if you took it off, then it wasn't at the time. It's very. I have a hard time grasping the svara on this. In any case, so now they want to ask another question. My ubo v'nismech al divrei Reb Shimon. We're saying now that according to Reb Chia, the reason why this dam is Thailand is we have to wait to see if it still remains on the gourd at the end of the shechita, because maybe we say Ein l'shchita el l'b'seif. So how can we say we're going to say this is going to be like Reb Shimon? Reb Shimon said a different thing. Reb Shimon was saying that bechlal dam shchita is not machshir l'kabel tumah. But he was saying only in this specific circumstance it's toilet. We wait to see later, but he agrees be'etzem that the dam shchita is machshir. So tomorrow Reb Shimon le machshir, Reb Shimon Reb Chia machshir is kanech miu ashvel adadi. The Gemara says Reb Shimon and Reb Chia saying different things. Reb Shimon says it's not, the dam is not machshir. Reb Chia say it is. So Gemara, no, but it's kanech miu ashvel adadi. In the end, Reb Shimon would certainly agree that not just that it's Thailand. He's saying if it's wiped away, that you're not going to be, it's not going to be hokshul kabel toma, because he holds it's never, because he holds a much broader thing, Reb Shimon, that dam shchita is never machshul kabel toma, but he certainly will agree that when you wiped it off between the semanim, that it certainly won't be hokshul kabel toma, because it never is. So Reb Shimon would be maskim to the din that Reb Chia says. So therefore, since Rabbi is against two, we're going to have to pass on Reb Chia and Reb Shimon, which is a tremendous chiddush if you think about it, that we're going to call it a rabbim, even though their reasons are entirely different. One would think that the rabbim is only when two people agree on a reason against the chad. It has nothing to do It's not a judicial decision. It's a halacha that we go basa the roiv. The basa roiv depends on what the psak is, not on the reasons for the psak. Very interesting. But I guess if you think about it, could you imagine if you had a Sanhedrin with 71 people and you make a vote about whether the guy has to get killed, and 37 of them say he should get killed. If you ask afterwards what the reasons are, you get 37 different reasons. So you'll never, if at least if you have Jewish judges, you're never going to come to any psak. It's not for this. Ravashi has a different pshat in the machlokes Reb Chia and Rebbe. It says Toilin la'olam mashal. Toilin means, like we had said before, Toilin means that you have to leave it without a decision. It's not that Reb Chia was saying that it's Toilin, means it depends on if it was kaneach. If after it's kaneach, if you do the shchita at the end. What he means to say is he's mesupik. He yashel shchita metchil v'atzayf ve'enel shchita el v'atzayf. Umay Toilin, what does it mean Toilin? Lo eichlim v'lo sarfin. What he means to say is we're talking about truma, a gourd of truma that was hukshul lekabel tuma, and it became tummy. I mean, or some tuma got on it. So if it has a din tuma, so it's truma that became tummy, you have to burn it. If it didn't become tummy, you could eat it. But this truma is going to have a din; it's going to be stuck. You're not going to be able to do either. You're not going to be able to eat because of the possibility of yeshchita mitchil v'atzayf, and therefore it was hukshul kabel tuma. Now it's tamei, but you can't burn it because maybe it's not hukshul kabel tuma. It's truma. You can't burn truma unless it's tamei. Why do you compare it to Shimon? But the Gabi this that Reb Chia said you can't burn it because it might not be hukshul kabel tuma. Reb Chia would agree you can't burn it because it's not hukshul kabel tuma. This is even a bigger chiddush because over here Reb Shimon is saying you could eat it, and according to Reb Chia you can't eat it because of the suffix. But even so, even splitting the halacha of Rav Chia, taking half of the halacha and saying that Rav Shimon agrees with the half of that he said you can't burn it, is enough to say that that's a psak keneged Rebbe, and we're going to go bust to the right. And this is what it's coming to say, something like this. The din is Thailand, and you can't eat it, and you can't be sorry of it. Which is interesting. Why do we paskin that it yeah? So we say, oh right, and legabi achila, Rebbe agrees that you can't eat it, right? Rebbe says it's hoksher, so you can't eat it. Reb Chia is not sure, so you can't eat it. And as far as sarfin, they also are you have Reb Shimon and Rebbe, you have Shimon and Reb Chia, connected Rebbe. Is that right? No. Reb Chia says, I'm sorry, you have Rebbe and Reb Shimon connected Reb Chia about, first of all, loy eichlin. Reb Shimon and let me get this again.
Rebbe
and Reb Shimon both hold you can't eat it. I'm sorry, not Rebbe and Shimon. Rebbe and Reb Chia both hold you can't eat it, and Reb Chia and Reb Shimon both hold you can't be sorry of it. So therefore, you have a roiv on like Reb Chia that you can neither eat it nor burn it. Even though you're putting together two separate roivs, you're splitting it up and making two roivs and using two different manda amram to make that roiv. Boy Rav Shimon ben Lakish. Shimon Lakish asks a different question. Shrid shel menachas. You have a little lump of flour in your mincha. that did not get the shemen on top of it. It didn't get liquid on it. Meinen by Rishon ve'esheni, ein meinen by Rishon ve'esheni. Do we say it has a din? It's certainly going to become, if it's touched a tumah, you're not going to be able to eat it. The question is, does it have also the din that it will be able to be mitama other things? And the Gemara explains what the reason for that question is. Ki mahanya chibas hakodesh. This little bit of flour did not. The reason why it's hokshel kabel tuma is not from the din of having a liquid go on it, but it's because of chibas hakodesh. We've come across this. The chibas hakodesh, the honor or the specialness of kachim allows kachim to become tamei, to be hokshel kabel tuma inherently, similar to what we said, like by shchita, that shchita itself can make something tamei. So we're saying the chlal kachim also can make something hokshel kabel tuma. So how far does that go? It only helps that the kachim becomes tamei, that you can't eat it. But it doesn't get the tumah, it doesn't get the status of tumah that's able to be metama other things. Do we say no? It's like every other thing that becomes tamei. Chibas hakodesh is the same thing, like something going hoksher by having water go on it that becomes capable of getting a full-fledged tumah, both to aser it for use as well as for it to convey tumah to something else.
This concept is the Rabbanon, right?
Well, you're hitting exactly onto the question. On Amud Beis, we're going to say it's the Rabbanon, but it's we're going to learn the din of Chibas HaKodesh itself is a deraisa. The question is this second din? It's going to be split. That maybe this second din that it's metama other things is midrabanan. I think I don't remember exactly. I think that's the way we come out. But this is we're going to see the psukim for this din of Chibas HaKodesh at the end of the next Amud. Amr Abelazar, Tashma.
What's the practical thing? The
difference is that let's say you have something, you have this trid shel menachos, right, that did not get any liquid on it. But because of Chibas HaKodesh, it gets a din that it's hokshel kabel tuma. To what extent is this hokshel kabel tuma? Is it just that if it touched tameh, you can no longer eat the mincha? Or if you take this piece of flour and it touches something else, can it be metama something else as well? The Chibas HaKodesh also give a din of a rishon v'sheni. Rishon v'sheni is just an expression to mean that it gets like everything else, that if it touches a rishon, it becomes a sheni, and it's able to be kabel tuma like a sheni. And if it touches a shlishi, if it touches a sheni, then it can be metabel a shlishi, make something a shlishi. But if it just to passel it, there's no din of rishon sheni shlishi. It just itself becomes passel, and that's the end of it. So it doesn't have the din of rishon sheni and shlishi. It's just an expression to denote between something that becomes passel. We often find that and the Mishnah uses the lashon psul to refer to something that reached the end of the line. It became tameh, but it can't be metama other things. And we call something, if it's metama, that means not that it just became passel, but it also is able to be metama other things. So the question, that's essentially the question: is Chibas HaKodesh passel or is it metama? So Tashma, the pasuk says, we'll read the whole pasuk. Mikol ha'oichel asher yachal asher yavil of mayim yitma. Whatever. But the first part is, from all the food that water gets on it, it's going to become tameh. And yitma, we said, it's going to be metam other things. So we learn from that. That seems to tell you the only thing that becomes hokshel kabel tuma is mayim, not anything else, not from chibas hakodesh, which is really a little bit. The Gemara seems to be slightly oblivious. It could be that until this point, the Gemara we didn't realize that what the actual kasha was. but it almost sounds like we're saying that chibas hakodesh shouldn't be metama at all. So tomorrow, Otter Rav Shimon Lakish Leslie Eichel Ababa Mayim. Does Rav Shimon not hold that not know that something that water got on it is going to be Hukshal Kabal Tuma? Of course he does. So but he holds. We know there's such a thing as chibas hakodesh. So what is he saying? Shimon just haki coming by chibas hakodesh ka'eichel abba b'mayim dami oiloi. His question is it fully like Rashi says? V'shlokish b'kacham ibayele ihavi chibas hakodesh kehechsha mayim b'chulin oiloi. Mahadik mer l'shnuya v'shloza nami the pasha le'nelei mitu the krah pasha nelei. Okay. So the Gemara is basically just reiterating the question. Rish Lakish's question was just how far the din of Chibas HaKodesh is. Everyone agrees there's such a thing as Chibas HaKodesh. The question is, how far does it go? So, but Rabbi Lazar, who had asked this question, Amr Rabbi Lazar Tashma, that he wants to say that Chibas HaKodesh will not include that it should be Metama. What do we need What does the Torah say? The Torah says kiyut and mayim. That's the place where we learn whenever we discuss this din of water being machshel lekabel tuma, we say it has to be b'chiyutan. The person has to have wanted it, the water, to be there. Otherwise it's not machshel. That's what we learn from chiyutan. But what do we need the pasuk Kiyut and Mayim al Zara, and we also have our pasuk on Mikala Oichel Asher Yavel of Mayim. We have twice that the Torah says that you need water to go on it to be Machshel Kabel Tumah. So what do you need both of them? So the Gemara Lav Lemute Chibas Kodesh, is it not? And Rashi says the Loi Havi Kehechsher Mayim Mamish. Everyone is agreeing. Rabbi Lazar is saying we all agree that there's such a thing as Chibas HaKodesh. But as we're going to see from a pasuk later. But maybe this pasuk, Rabbi Lazar is suggesting that when we have this second pasuk of Mayim being Machshel Kabel Tumah, that's coming to exclude that Chibas HaKodesh is not like Mayim Mamish. It's only going to be Pasal and not be Metam. So Rabbi Rish Lakish would say no, loy. The reason why we have two psukim about Mayim being Machshel Kabel Tumah is both on Tumah, but one is to tell you that Mayim you need Mayim to be Machsher for Tumas Meis, that Tumas Meis is going to be make Metama only if the Eichel was Hochshel Kabel Tumah, and wants to tell you Tumas Sheretz. And we need to tell you both of these chedushim. Yashmin Tumas Meis. If we would just tell you that Tumas Meis has a din that Mayim is Machshel of Kabel Tumah, Hasamu Dubai Hechsher. Maybe only Tumas Meis needs a Hechsher. Mishum Delay Metama Kadosha. Tumas Meis needs a larger amount. It doesn't need just a Kadosha. I think it needs a Kabeya in order to be Metama. But Tumas Sheretz, Aval Sheretz, the Metama Kadosha. But Sheretz can be Metama even with the size of a bean and with a very small amount. Maybe the Tumas Sheretz in that sense is stronger than Tumas Meis, and it can even be Metama without the Eichel having been Hochshel Kabel Tumah with Mayim. Yashmin Sheretz Shum Delay Metama Tumas Shiva. And obviously Tumas Meis has a chumrah over Sheretz, that you need to be metired by waiting 7 days with the paraduma. It wouldn't need that in order for it to be metama oichel that it should be hochshel kabel tumah. That's why I need a pasuk for both of them. So he doesn't have the pasuk extra to be memayit chibas hakodesh that it's not going to be metama. It's not going to be Matama, and it's only going to be possible. Masav Yosef Reb Shimon. Masav Reb Yosef. Reb Shimon Oimer. Hochshuru b'shchita. Hochshuru. Hoksheru b'shchita. We say that in our Mishnah. There Shimon says that shchita is machsher. It doesn't need liquid to be machsher. Hoksheru afilu leminne b'hu rishon v'sheni. From the fact that Rav Shimon says it's hoksher, that sounds like that it becomes hoksher l'kabel tuma in every way, not just to passel, but also to include it for rishon v'sheni. Amai v'lo yoichel haba b'maymu. If we're saying that the only thing that has the din that it becomes not just possible, but it's also going to be metama, is something that was huksha b'mayim, whether it becomes huksha from an alternative of chivas hakodesh or an alternative from shchita, it should not be able to make a din of rishon v'sheni. But we had all those three blot going back and forth with Yadayim Messiah, even though that was talking about, I'm sorry, that was talking about the first part of the Mishnah, about where it got liquid on it, but Rav Shimon was arguing on that. If he was only arguing on partial, he should have said so. Amalei Abaya, aso kehechsher mayim derabanan. So this is why I was hesitant to answer you before, Rafal. He says, Eina chanami, that maybe it's only midaraisa, it only has a din to passel, but midrabanan, it's also going to have kach shamayim. Chivas hakodesh is also midrabanan. They were geyser. It should also be metama. Amr of Zera Toshma haboitzer legas. Someone who put aside olives into a basket to put them into to press them, and while they were in the basket, some of the oil oozed out of the olives. So obviously it got the olives wet, and then the oil dripped onto the ground. So that liquid was not really intended. He didn't want it to come out. Shamei ayma hoksho, hil amar loy hoksho. Shammai says, I'm sorry, but it's not the gas. Rashi says it's not talking about olives, it's talking about grapes. So Shammai says that midrabanan, it's going to be hoksher lekabel tuma, even though he didn't really want that liquid, so it's not bechiyutan. But since on occasion he'll put it into a bottle where the liquid would be saved and he'd be able to use the grapes, the wine that came out, so therefore we're and even in a case where it's going to fall on the ground. And in the end, this is one of the things that they were nimnu v'gamru and aliyah, that like Beis Shammai against Beis Hillel, because there were more people from Beis Shammai.
No, but
What?
don't we need like a human intervention to be machsher, like for someone to press the grapes in order for
No.
we don't need that?
No, we don't need. Why do we need human intervention? You mean to have the din of chiyutan? Well, that's what we said, that chiyutan tells you in order for the liquid to be machsher, to prepare something to be makabel tuma, the person has to want it to be on it. But it doesn't have to be that he put it on it. It could even be, we've had cases where the person put figs on the roof for the rain to go get on them or to dry them out. If he wants the rain to go on them, it doesn't have to be that he physically put it. It has to be that he wanted it to be there. So this case also, so if he wants the liquid to be there, that's enough. Now, in this case, he didn't want the liquid to be there because the liquid's just going to waste.
Right.
But Beis Shammai says with geyser, in a case where it was not in something that's going to go to waste, if it was put into a bottle and he left it there and then the liquid came out, he'd be happy because it saved him the trouble of having to press it out. It's just a gzeira because of that case. But you're right that otherwise it shouldn't be hoksher l'kabel tuma with that. This is it's not considered it's not really a liquid. It's only the takanas chachamim that it should become it should be tamei. So it should only have a dim psul, like chibas hakodesh, and like we said before of hoksheru b'shchita. It should only have a din psul, not a din of to be metama. if we're suggesting that the only thing that has a din to be metama is where it's actually hokshru with valid liquid, this is not really a valid liquid. No, that's also a derabbanan. Derabbanan extends also to make it like it's like that it's metama. Amalei Rabbi Yosef, Aminu l'chana hokshru b'shchita, v'amalei asiyo kehechsher mayim, v'amalei chorzeira v'matalei aso kehechsher mayim. You just answered the last two questions. You answered both of them. That takanas hachamim was to make it midrabanan, that it has a din to be metama. So what is this big question of Shim Reish Lakish that he asked when you have this tzrid of flour, this little lump of flour that didn't get liquid on it, it's becoming tamei because of chibas hakadosh. Let's say this is takanas chum on that as well. Why would you have the same takanas chum in there to say that it should be mimatama like a rishon v'sheni? Why is it any different? The two places we brought where there's no deraisa dika din tuma, we said, but it's still the chachamim. There is a partial psul, so the chamu also masakin that it should be metama. We don't want to make any nafkamina. So why is Rav Shimon questioning that? Let's say there's a takanas cham on this as well. Amali alter Rav Shimon Lakish litlois kami bayale. Rav Shimon Lakish's question is not just to leave it and wait. Ki kami bayale lisref. Rish Lakish's question is whether you can take that piece of the mincha that became tameh, whether you have to burn it or not. You can't just leave it because it's a midrabanan. It has a din tuma. If it has a din tuma derabanan, you're not going to be able to burn it. You can't burn kachim that are valid kachim in deraisa unless you have a deraisa dikapsul. So Mechlal the Chivas HaKadosh D'Oraisa. So Vice dice that Rish Lakish's question was not about the D'Rabbanan, it was about whether it's also going to be Metama Mid'Oraisa. Minalon, where does this din of Chivas HaKadosh come from altogether? The Torah says the basar, it's talking about, where's the pasuk? Abasa sheyigu b'chol tamei lo yeachal be'esh yisar v'abasa kol tar yochal basa. Kachim that became tamei, the din is you have to be sorry of it because touch tamei. High basa diskasha b'mai. The basar of kachim had it become hukshul lekabel tuma. Ilem diskasha b'dam. If you'll say that the dam from the behema itself, when you shechted it, is what's miskasher, like we said on our Mishnah. And this kamayim machsher and nishvachayim ene machsher. We've had this drasha before. While dam of a regular shchita, we have the machlekes of Shimon and the Tanakama bayas whether it's machsher lekabel tum or not. But the dam of a kachim, everyone agrees is not going to be machsher lekabel tumah. Maybe the liquids that they use, the water they used to rinse the basar in the Beis Hamikdash after the shechita. The mayim of the Beis Mitbeche has a unique status, unlike other water. Usually, water that is not collected in the Chachamu Masakin, that water, even if it wasn't collected in a river, it's not coming from a river, or I'm sorry, it wasn't in a kli, does not get a din to become tamei, right? Yeah, so there's a whole machlekes of what the status of stam liquids. There's a man Amar who says these liquids should not, this water should not be able to be makabel toma itself. But the Chacham said that does not, although the Chacham was saying that it should be makabel toma, they suspended that rule in the Beis Hamikdash. As we're going to see, generally the Chacham were did not impose their extra tumas in the Beis Hamikdash in order to not be mitama kachim midrabanan. So not only is this liquid that is it tar that it itself doesn't become tamei, she'ein machshirin. It also is not able to be machshir lekabel tuma for the same reason we don't make it hochshir lekabel tuma in order to avoid having kachim become tamei. V'chi tema tirgama adam. And if you're going to say that which we say that the mashke based mitbechay, maybe that's not talking about the liquids that we use to rinse the meat, but it's talking about the dam that came out of the basar. And like we just said, that's because of the Torah says al aretz tishbechanu kamayim, and this is not tishbechanu kamayim. You have to use it for the kachim. For a mashki kamer, it says mashki, which is plural, which is including not just dam, but also the mayim. And so we've eliminated all other ways that the basar could have become hukshal l'kabel toma. Elav this kasha b'chibas hakodesh. So it must be that's his kasha l'kabel hakodesh because of chibas hakodesh. That's a raya. Maybe this is the source for chibas hakodesh that's machshal l'kabel toma. Zok the Gemara. The Dilma could have Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Amar Yehuda Amar Shmuel could go into Haisel et Parish al Zivkei Shlamim bevira benachal. We're talking about you have a cow that was supposed to become a shlamim, and you walked. It was still wet from having walked through a river. And the water is still on it with yeshechted, and that water, as soon as the shechita happens, it's machshir lekabel tumas. So you have outside water. It's not the dam. It's not the base mitvachei. So it's not a raya that it's because of chibas hakodesh. So Mara, let me say, where do we learn it out from this sefer? The Torah says Habasa to tell you that eitzim and levaina generally only kalim or maichalim can be hokshel lekabel toma, but from basar it comes to be marba. Also eitzim levaina they also can be machshel lekabel toma. Eitzim levaina b'nei achila ninu elchivas hakodesh mechashron. Now how could they become hoksher? How can they become to have dinner of tuma? It's because of chivas hakodesh. So too, just like it's machshuret that it gets treated and become tame, like an oichel, it also it's machshuret that it could be machshel kabel tum. Sagt Gemara. So what's taka the din? Kimani chivas hakodesh l'psula de gufa olivia risha v'sheni loya dilma loishna teku. We taka have a teku on the original question of Rish Lakish. Okay, we'll stop over here. But I hope to see you in the shul tomorrow.
Ishtar.
Have a good day.